You're not falling behind because you're incapable. You're falling behind because you start late. While most of the world is still asleep, the leaders are already at their desks, making crucial decisions, finishing work that others haven't even thought of yet. And what do they have in common? They wake up at 5 a.m. Not because they're morning people, but because they understand this. Success isn't about where you start. It's about when you start. 5 a.m. isn't the hour of the majority. It's the hour so quiet that you can hear your own thoughts the clearest. No emails, no notifications, no one demanding anything from you. It's the moment you reclaim control in a world that constantly pulls you into reaction, reacting to situations, reacting to people, reacting to crises. 5 a.m. is the only time of day when you're fully proactive. You probably wondered why successful people always seem so composed. It's not because they have fewer tasks. It's because they've handled the most important ones before the world wakes up. While you're still searching for your car keys, they've already read a chapter of a book, finished a workout, or polished part of a business strategy. The difference doesn't lie in the amount of work, but in the order of priorities and the time frame they choose to get it done. Some people say, I just can't wake up early. I'm a night owl. No, you're not a night owl. You're just used to delaying things. Your body can adapt to any biological rhythm if trained long enough and consistently. The issue isn't that you can't wake up early, it's that you haven't found a strong enough reason to. But look around, have you ever seen anyone reach greatness by starting late? You think you're short on time, but in truth, you're letting your morning slip by unconsciously. Every minute you lie in bed is a minute of opportunity lost. The opportunity to read, to write, to train your body, to prepare your mind, to advance further than others without needing to compete. The gap between good and great isn't IQ, it's how they use the time no one's watching. You don't need a revolution, you just need a decision, a small change. Setting your alarm 2 hours earlier can create a massive turning point, because what matters isn't how much you do, but when you do it. When you master time before dawn, you're no longer caught in the rush. You lead instead of chase. You strike instead of defend. Successful people don't accidentally create results. They design them, starting in the morning. They don't wait for inspiration. They don't wait for everything to be perfect. They don't wait for permission. They set the alarm, they get up, they act. Consistently until the world starts calling them by a different name. If you're serious about your future, you can't afford to skip this hour. No miracle happens at 10 a.m. when emails are exploding and phones won't stop buzzing. Miracles only happen in the silence. When your mind is still clear, when your energy is at its peak, when you're calm enough to ask, what actually matters today? Don't let your whole day be dictated by someone else's life just because you started later than they did. Don't let the world enter and scramble your mind before you've had a chance to touch your own ideals. 1 hour at dawn can be worth more than 4 in the afternoon, not because the hours are different, but because you are. You're more alert, more focused, less distracted, and that's why you're stronger. If you want to change your life, you don't have to wait until next year, next month, or even next week. You just have to wait until tomorrow morning and choose not to hit snooze. Choose to get up. Choose to conquer the day before it even begins. You don't need more time. You need to take control of the time you already have. And it starts at 5 a.m. Your body doesn't run on inspiration. It's a sophisticated biological system designed to operate optimally at specific times of the day. And surprisingly, the golden hours of the human brain are actually the first few hours after waking up. Once you understand this, you don't just wake up early. You wake up during the brain's peak performance window. And that's when you start pulling ahead, not because you're doing more, but because you're doing it at the right time. Picture this. When you open your eyes in the morning, your body has already started to power up. About an hour before you wake, cortisol, often misunderstood as the stress hormone, reaches its natural peak. But this is negative stress. Morning cortisol is a biological tool that helps you feel alert, ready, and clear-headed. It's the signal that flips the switch on your entire nervous system, the body's way of saying it's time to act. At the same time, levels of dopamine, neurotransmitter tied to motivation, and serotonin, associated with emotional stability, are also elevated. This is the perfect neurochemical cocktail for fast learning, deep thinking, and sharp problem solving. You don't need caffeine, you just need to avoid wasting that diamond window on trivial tasks. Every time you curl back into bed or scroll aimlessly through your phone, you're forfeiting the strongest biological state your body offers you. Now, I don't choose my work hours based on mood, I choose them based on biology. That's why I don't leave important decisions for the afternoon when willpower is worn down and the brain is tired. Any task that requires strategic thinking, creativity, or decisiveness gets done in the morning when the mind is still intact. Because I know the morning is when you are mentally the sharpest. And if you don't take advantage of that, you'll spend the rest of the day cleaning up mistakes. You don't need to do more than others. You just need to use your brain at better times than they do. Think of top programmers, inventors, or high-level CEOs. They don't wake up early to brag. They wake up early because they know the early morning is the only time they can think clearly without interruptions from the outside world. While others are sipping their first coffee, they've already completed the most important task of the day. So why don't most people do this? The answer is simple. They were never taught that the brain has peak hours. They live in opposition to their natural rhythms, staying up late, eating late, waking late, then trying to focus when their mind is already in disarray. They don't fail because they lack ability. They fail simply because they don't cooperate with their own biology. And when you understand that your circadian rhythm governs your clarity and effectiveness, you stop wasting the first hours of your day on social media or messages. You use them for strategy, for knowledge, for action that moves you forward. You don't need more hours in the day. You just need to use the hours when your brain is at its strongest. You don't need to force yourself to work. You just need to remove distractions so the brain can do what it naturally does best. Creative thoughts, big ideas, sound decisions, they all come faster and sharper when you don't waste your natural state of alertness on the trivial. Instead of letting your brain be filled by others, let it be powered by you. 5 a.m. isn't magical. Your biology is the real miracle. But it only works if you choose to activate it. If you oversleep, you lose it. If you wake up and curl into procrastination, you throw away the edge your body has already prepared for you. Don't say you want to change your life if you keep trading your most valuable hours each day just to sleep a little longer. That's not rest. That's loss. You don't need to do more, you just need to be more awake, and that starts by honoring your own biology. Tomorrow when the alarm rings, don't just wake up, fully awaken, because that is the moment your brain is waiting for your leadership, and if you don't lead it, the world will do it for you. How you use the first 60 minutes after waking up doesn't just define the quality of your morning. It shapes your entire attitude, energy, and effectiveness for the next 24 hours. This isn't just a motivational concept, it's a biological and psychological fact. The human brain functions like a machine with a limited battery each day. And from the moment you open your eyes, every action you take gradually drains that energy. The question isn't do you have energy or not, it's what are you spending that energy on? Most people wake up and immediately fall into a reactive state, reaching for their phone, scrolling through notifications, replying to emails, reading the news. All of it seems harmless, but what no one notices is this: every tap, every piece of information you process, every tiny decision from which message to answer first, to which article to read, chips away at your willpower. Science calls this phenomenon decision fatigue. The reason: you struggle to focus in the afternoon, become more impulsive, and often choose comfort over strategy. I don't let my first hour get wasted on small, draining things. I guard it like it's the most important time of the day, because it actually is. In the first 60 minutes, I don't allow the world to invade my mind. I follow a set sequence, like a daily program, that eliminates unnecessary decisions and reserves my mental energy for bigger choices. You might not realize it, but whether you begin your morning intentionally or unconsciously will show up in every decision you make throughout the day. When you start with intention, 5 minutes of meditation, a passage from a book, writing down 3 key goals, you're sending a clear message to your brain: I am in control, not a victim. On the other hand, if you let yourself be swept away by chaotic information the moment you wake up, you lose your position as the leader of your own life. What's important to note is You don't need a perfect morning routine, you just need a simple but deliberate structure. That could mean 10 minutes of light movement, 15 minutes of journaling your thoughts, and 30 minutes of deep, uninterrupted work on your most important task. No need for complexity, no need for hype, but it must be repeated daily, because habits aren't built on inspiration, they're built on rhythm and consistency. Someone once told me, I don't have enough time to do all that. The truth is, you're not lacking time. You're allowing your first hour to be hijacked by negative habits. A quick scroll on social media that seems like 5 minutes can easily stretch into 45, draining your natural state of focus. And when you start your morning with distraction, the rest of your day tends to mirror that, scattered, rushed, and out of control. Here's what I want you to remember. Success doesn't start with meetings, emails, or packed calendar. It starts with your first hour. And if you can master that hour, you'll trigger a positive chain reaction for the rest of the day. When you begin with clarity, purposeful action, and clear intention, everything else flows more smoothly, with less distraction and more completion. Don't wait until 10 a.m. to figure out what I need to do today. I decide that within the first 10 minutes after waking up. And most importantly, I only make that decision once, and then I follow through. No second guessing, no renegotiating with myself, no getting pulled into urgent but unimportant tasks. Because I know the brain can only make a few high-quality decisions a day, and I don't waste that capacity on the trivial. You don't need to copy someone else's routine. You just need to define what morning sequence keeps you alert, focused, and feeling like you're in charge of your life. Then turn it into a ritual. Do it every day, regardless of mood. Don't let the world interrupt before you touch your own direction. Starting a day isn't just about opening your eyes. It's about choosing your state of ignition. And once you understand the real power of the first 60 minutes, you'll never let them slip away randomly again. You'll protect them, you'll prioritize them, and you'll use them as leverage to lift your entire life to a higher level. Every time you hit the snooze button, you're sending a subtle message to yourself that I'm not ready to face life. And you're not just delaying waking up, you're delaying the journey to becoming the person you want to be. Don't let this small action fool you. It's not harmless. It's the seed of a destructive chain reaction, silent but persistent. The truth is, you don't need 5 or 10 more minutes of sleep. You need a reason strong enough not to go back to sleep. That momentary comfort of being rescued by the warmth of your blanket comes at the cost of a lingering disappointment that shadows you all day. You wake up later than planned, more rushed than expected, and feel like you've already lost before the day even began. Nothing erodes self-trust faster than repeatedly breaking a small promise to yourself. I'll get up when the alarm rings. Snoozing may seem like a reflex, but behind it lies a misaligned mental system. You're training your brain in a dangerous habit, allowing delay, allowing compromise, allowing broken promises to yourself. And it doesn't stop in the morning. When you begin your day with a small failure, it won't be long before you start compromising in bigger areas. Your work, your goals, your discipline, your responsibilities. You can't build true confidence if you don't keep your word to yourself, and the snooze button is your first test each day. Win that, and you win the chain. Lose that, and you start a downward spiral from something seemingly insignificant. What I want you to see clearly is this. The grogginess you feel in the morning isn't just from lack of sleep. It's from repeatedly interrupting your body's natural cycle. When the alarm rings, your body has already begun to prepare for waking. Your temperature rises, cortisol is released, your nervous system is activated. But when you hit snooze and fall back asleep, you disrupt that biological process. The result, when you finally get up, you feel disoriented, foggy, and irritable. Science calls it sleep inertia, and it can reduce your mental performance for up to 4 hours after getting out of bed. Many people think they're just not morning people, but for most, it's not genetic. It's the result of a repeated pattern of behavior that you've unconsciously validated. Your body can relearn a new rhythm if you give it enough consistent signals. The problem is, you've never taught it to believe that 5 a.m. is your serious starting point. If you want change, you don't need to romanticize early mornings, you just need to rebuild the association between the sound of the alarm and the action of getting up. No thinking, no calculations, no negotiations. Because your brain is very skilled at convincing you to crawl back into bed, if you give it the time. The faster the action, the weaker the resistance, and soon, get up immediately, becomes your new nervous system, the one that helps you make fast decisions, not just in the morning, but in the critical moments of your life. I know this sounds harsh, but truth doesn't need to be comforting, it needs to be accurate. If you don't break the snooze cycle, you'll always start your day in a reactive state. You'll always be one step behind in your work, in your thinking, and in your personal transformation. You'll always feel like the one who shows up late, not because you lack ability, but because you gave up control in the very first minute. You don't need a miracle to change your life, you just need to win the moment your alarm goes off. Every morning is a small battle, and if you have the courage to rise on time, you're sending an incredibly powerful signal to your entire nervous system. I'm in control of myself. And that's the foundation for everything else. Your career, your health, your finances, your relationships. Tomorrow when the alarm rings, you have two choices. Go back to sleep and prolong the delay, or get up and begin your victory. You don't need motivation, you need action. And timely action begins with never hitting snooze again. The very moment you open your eyes, a silent battle begins. Not with the outside world, but with your own brain. One part of you wants to get up and start the day. The other, used to comfort, delay, and hesitation, whispers, just a few more minutes. And if you hesitate, you lose, not because you lack willpower, but because you let your brain pull you back into its old inertia. The safer place, the more comfortable one, and also the place where no progress ever happens. Understand this, your brain doesn't prioritize goals, it prioritizes survival. It loves familiarity, seeks comfort, and will resist any change that pushes you out of your comfort zone, even if it's something you deeply desire. And the moment you wake up is when that defense mechanism is at its strongest. The more you think, the more you analyze whether or not to get up, the more time instinct has to take over. So the only way to beat it is to act immediately, before logic is hijacked by laziness. You don't need inspiration to start an effective morning. Inspiration is the last thing to arrive, not the prerequisite. Those who wait until they feel ready before taking action will forever stay stuck in limbo, knowing they need to change, but never gaining the strength to begin. Meanwhile, successful people understand this. Action comes first, positive emotion follows. It's getting out of bed, getting dressed, drinking water, taking a short walk, even without enthusiasm. That actually generates enthusiasm, because every right action sends a signal to your inner self. I am in control. Think back to the last time you woke up early, took decisive action, and completed something meaningful early in the day. How did you feel afterward? Proud, empowered, clear. And the entire day seemed to follow a different trajectory. You acted faster, thought clearer, made bolder choices. That wasn't coincidence. That was the chain reaction of one right decision, starting with taking action the moment you woke up. On the other hand, every time you roll over, hesitate, and delay, you lose the chance to build positive momentum. And when a day starts with hesitation, it often ends with quitting. I don't use my mornings to reorganize emotions, I use them to establish control. The first action after waking must be pre-programmed, with no room for mental negotiation. It could be a glass of water placed by the bed the night before. The first step, hitting the floor without thinking. A deep breathing routine for 60 seconds before doing anything else. What matters isn't what the action is, it's that it happens immediately without hesitation. Many people fail at morning habits not because they lack discipline, but because they lack a system. They let the brain choose what to do when it's at its weakest, right after waking up. And you know what happens when the brain has to choose in a foggy state? It chooses the easiest option, staying in bed. What you need is a standardized sequence of actions. Simple, clear, and repeated so often it becomes automatic. Then your brain doesn't need to decide, it simply follows the program. And that's how you save your willpower for bigger things. I don't believe in perfect mornings. I believe in mornings that begin with one right move. Because once you win that first moment, everything else becomes easier. When you get out of bed, instead of negotiating, get dressed instead of curling up, write down goals instead of opening your phone, you transform from reactive to proactive. And that proactivity, repeated daily, will rewire who you are. You don't change your life through giant leaps, you change it through one small action, taken the moment you wake, no overthinking, no delay, no asking for more time, just get up and start moving. A glass of water, a deep breath, a stretch, anything that pulls you into a state of action is priceless. Don't search for motivation, create it. And the simplest way to do that is to stand up now. Waking up early doesn't mean sacrificing sleep. Morning alertness doesn't come from sleeping more than others, it comes from sleeping better than them. Most people blame not being able to wake up on not having enough hours of sleep. But the truth is, you can sleep for 8 hours and still feel exhausted if the quality of your sleep is poor. Conversely, you can sleep for 6 hours and still feel refreshed if your body rests in alignment with its natural biological rhythm. What matters is not how long you lie in bed, but whether your body actually enters a state of deep restoration. Sleep isn't one uniform block of time, it's a series of cycles lasting around 90 minutes each, including light sleep, deep sleep, and REM phases. Each stage serves a specific purpose: physical recovery, memory consolidation, and emotional processing. If you wake up in the middle of a cycle, even after 7 or 8 hours, your body reacts as if it's been abruptly interrupted, leaving you groggy, heavy-headed, and disconnected from reality. That's why some days you feel sluggish well into noon, even after enough hours of sleep. Your body doesn't need more time. It needs its natural rhythm to be respected. The first step to improving sleep quality isn't going to bed earlier, it's going to bed at the same time every day. When you maintain a consistent bedtime and wake time, your circadian rhythm becomes stronger, allowing your body to enter deep sleep more quickly and consistently. You don't need to wait until you feel sleepy. You need to give your brain a clear signal that it's time to restore. Just like a singer can't perform well if constantly interrupted mid-note, the brain cannot recover efficiently if you're glued to your phone screen 2 minutes before closing your eyes. Blue light from electronic devices delays the production of melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep, making it harder to reach deep relaxation. One of the worst habits is checking social media one last time before bed. You think it's just a few minutes, but your mind gets overstimulated by chaotic information, so even when your body lies still, your mind keeps running. The result? Your recovery is compromised even if you clock enough hours. To wake up early with ease, don't start in the morning, start the night before. The way you end your day determines how you begin the next. Set yourself a wind down time, not just a bedtime, but a buffer period that lets your body cool down, your mind slow down, and your mood transition into stillness. This could mean 30 minutes without screens, soft lighting, a paper book, a few lines in a journal, or a few minutes of light meditation. These seemingly small acts are the bridge to high-quality sleep without having to try hard. You don't need advanced techniques to sleep deeply, you just need to eliminate what's damaging your sleep, and most of those things come from you. Information overload, irregular schedules, improper lighting, random noise, or even caffeine after 4 p.m. Each small factor you dismiss becomes another brick in the wall of a bad night's sleep. But if you reverse the chain, if you start managing your environment, adjusting lighting, and establishing a consistent rhythm, you won't just sleep better, you'll wake up truly renewed. And when you sleep correctly, waking up at 5 a.m. is no longer a struggle. You don't have to fight yourself out of bed. Your body naturally wakes up with more energy, a clearer mind, and a sense of readiness to take on the day. This is why successful people seem superhuman when it comes to early rising. They don't possess magical powers. They simply understand how to work with their body instead of against it. Sleep quality is the foundation of morning discipline. If you neglect this, all your efforts to wake up early will collapse under fatigue and resistance. But if you optimize your sleep, each morning becomes a powerful launch pad. No forcing, no fighting, just stepping out of bed with the calm confidence of someone who knows they're on the path to their goal. You can't control the day unless you begin with proper sleep, and you can't have an extraordinary morning if the night before you allowed your body to drown in chaos. So if you're serious about waking up early, don't just focus on your alarm time. Start by redesigning your evenings. Simple, quiet, intentional. Because when you sleep deeply enough, waking up early is no longer a hard decision. It becomes second nature. And that's when you start playing the game of leaders. A good morning isn't measured by how many tasks you complete, but by the quality of the state you're in. You can wake up early, you can sit at your desk on time, but if your body is sluggish, your mind scattered, and your actions directionless, then all you're doing is repeating the same tired cycle under a new label. I'm a disciplined person. Morning effectiveness isn't about time, it's about structure. And that structure is built on 3 pillars: energy, focus, execution. Energy is the first thing you must activate. After 6 to 8 hours of sleep, the body emerges from a static state. Your circulation isn't fully flowing, oxygen hasn't fully reached the brain, and your movement hormones are still frozen. If you do nothing to wake your body up, you're bringing an unstarted machine into a new day, and then you wonder why you feel tired, irritated, or impatient. What you need isn't a high-intensity workout, but intentional movement. A few stretches, a few laps walking around the house, a few minutes of light activity, just enough to get the blood flowing, your heart rate up, and your body fully awake. True alertness doesn't come from caffeine, it comes from motion. Focus is the second pillar, and the one most easily broken if you don't protect it early. The moment you turn on your phone, read the news, reply to messages, you're letting external information flood into a brain that is at its most pristine and programmable state. You've just opened the door to the world before deciding where you want to go. And when your mind is shattered into fragments by things that don't matter, you lose the sharpness needed to handle what does. I don't start my mornings by receiving, I start by taking command. Command over the mind through stillness, maybe meditation, journaling, reading a few meaningful pages, or simply sitting quietly to awaken presence. This moment isn't for relaxation, but to lay down the tracks for clear thinking. You must program your mind the way you want, or it will be programmed by the chaos around you. Focus doesn't come from trying to block out distractions once you're already working. It comes from how you shape your mental state before you start anything. Execution is the final pillar, and the place where everything turns into results. Once the body is awake and the mind is clear, the next move is to channel all of that into the most important task of the day. Not 5 minor chores, not a never-ending checklist, just one major task. The one that matters most, that carries the greatest impact. And you begin it immediately, without interruptions, without distractions, without negotiation. For the first 60 to 90 minutes, you devote your entire bandwidth to this high-leverage action. And that's not just an effective strategy, it's a survival strategy in a world overflowing with distractions. Most people begin their mornings by clearing small tasks, replying to emails, checking messages, doing easy work first. What they don't realize is they're using the best energy of the day to handle things that could have waited. And by the time deep thought, big decisions, or creative work is needed, they are already drained. Smart execution isn't about doing more, it's about doing the right thing at the right time. And morning, especially the first few hours, is your diamond window for anything that requires depth and focus. These 3 pillars, energy, focus, execution, are inseparable. You can't execute well without focus. You can't focus if your body isn't alert. And you can't be alert if your morning is just a messy string of automatic behaviors. If you want to build breakthroughs, you need a solid base. And that base is a morning built not on emotion, but on structure. This isn't theory, this is how top performers operate. From athletes to founders to thought leaders. They don't waste early day energy on the cheap. They know what needs to be prioritized. They build their morning structure like an engineer, reprogramming an entire operating system, from body to mind to execution. If you feel like you're always starting the day in a fog, ask yourself these 3 questions. Has your body been properly awakened? Has your mind been cleared of noise? Are you using your peak energy to tackle what truly matters? If the answer to all 3 is no, then it's not your fault. It's a signal that you need a new architecture for your mornings. And once you change the way you begin, your whole life starts heading in a different direction. Waking up at 5 a.m. won't set you apart if the first thing you do is grab your phone. The quiet of the morning holds no value if you fill it with negative news, chaotic notifications, and conversations that haven't even aligned with your intentions. In the brain's purest moment, you choose to contaminate it with digital trash you can't even control. That's not starting your day, that's surrendering. And you need to see this clearly. Most of your life's distraction doesn't come from enemies out there. It comes from the screen in your hand. Your body follows a biological rhythm, and so does your brain. In the first hour after waking, the brain is in its most programmable state, when alpha and theta waves are still active. when there's no external pressure, and when your mind is spacious enough to receive signals that shape your entire nervous system for the day. You can use this time to program alertness, intention, belief, and focus. Or you can use it to react to drama, random comments, urgent emails, or photos of someone more successful than you. One choice helps you grow, the other drains you before you've even brushed your teeth. The first thing you do after waking isn't just a habit, it's your unconscious answer to the question, what's my top priority? And if every morning you answer, the digital world matters more than my own thoughts, don't be surprised when the rest of your day feels scattered, distracted, and emotionally unstable. Because you allowed others to shape your internal state before you even had a chance to define it for yourself. I'm not against technology, but I don't allow it to steer my brain during the most critical time of the day. Smart devices aren't the enemy, the problem is how you use them. You must understand, every time you check your phone just for a second, you're not just losing time, you're losing mental energy. The brain doesn't distinguish between a stressful email and a meaningless social media notification. It only knows you've shifted attention, and every shift burns dopamine. Every shift weakens your focus. Repeat this enough, and you lose your capacity for deep work, the most valuable skill in today's world. Don't start your day with reaction, start it with intention. Choose to protect the purest state of your brain from unnecessary interference. Choose to think before being influenced. And that choice doesn't require heroic effort, just one simple action. Don't touch your phone for the first hour after waking. Use that time to write your goals, read a few pages, move your body, or just sit quietly with your own thoughts. Anything that reconnects you to your inner world is better than thousands of live updates. The longer you delay digital engagement, the longer you preserve control over your nervous system. The more you protect your stillness, the more power you retain over your brain. And it's in that stillness where focus, creativity, and decisiveness are born. Big ideas don't arrive when you're scrolling. They come when you leave your mind empty long enough to go deep. And you can only create that space by stopping the unconscious flood of information. I know old habits are hard to change. The urge to see what's new is a reflex embedded in millions of people. But if you don't set limits, your device will set them for you. On your energy, your clarity, and your future. And the scariest part? Most people don't realize how much mental power they've lost until they can no longer focus for 20 minutes to read a single page. To wake up early effectively, you don't just need alertness, you need awareness. You need to know what's stealing your intelligence, and you need the strength to stop it. A phone isn't dangerous, but a phone opened at the wrong time can destroy the entire morning structure you've worked so hard to build. You've awakened your body, you've defeated procrastination. Don't let it all collapse just because you wanted a quick scroll for fun. The morning is where you reprogram your life, and your brain, like fertile soil, is waiting to be seeded with the purest inputs. Don't waste it on digital junk. Let every morning be your declaration that you control your mind before anyone else gets the chance. Because once you master your attention, you master the direction of your entire life. Don't confuse inspiration with commitment. Successful people are not those who are always overflowing with motivation. They're simply the ones who keep working even when motivation is nowhere to be found. Inspiration comes and goes unannounced. Discipline stays. And it is discipline, not motivation, that separates dreamers from doers. When you rely on motivation to act, you've already surrendered control to something unstable. But when you train yourself through discipline, you turn action into instinct. No negotiation, no waiting for the right feeling. The morning is the clearest reflection of how you live the rest of your life. Do you get up when the alarm rings, or do you wait another 5 minutes? Do you begin your important work while still groggy, or do you look for excuses to delay? In that moment, you're not just deciding what you'll do today, you're shaping who you'll become 5 years from now. Because every action, no matter how small, is a silent vote for your future self. Either the version that lives with intention or the one that chases temporary emotions. Discipline doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be repeated long enough to become part of your identity. You don't have to love waking up early. You just have to do it enough times until it's no longer something I should do. It becomes something I always do. That's when transformation begins. When you no longer need inspiration to start, and you don't need immediate results to keep going. You act simply because this is what you do. No debate, no distraction. Here's a truth few people will tell you. The most disciplined individuals aren't those with iron willpower. They're the ones who build smart systems that minimize unnecessary decisions. They don't let their brain decide each morning whether to exercise or not. They set out their clothes the night before. They don't ask themselves whether to read or scroll. They design their time, space, and habits in a way that forces the right choice until the right choice becomes automatic. Discipline doesn't make you rigid, it makes you free from the daily battle with procrastination, free from the inner voice constantly looking for excuses, free from the fatigue of making endless decisions that could have been automated long ago. The more disciplined you are, the more you preserve your willpower, a scarce resource that should be saved for big decisions, not wasted on get up or stay in bed. And that's why every morning is a test not of performance, but of identity. Are you acting like the person you want to become? Are you keeping the promises you made to yourself even when no one is watching, even when no one is checking? The greatest people aren't different because they're always better. They're different because they're more consistent in doing what's right, even when it's hard, even when no one applauds, even when the rewards aren't immediate. They choose quiet victories every day rather than waiting for a rare moment of glory. No one wakes up early for a lifetime thanks to motivation, but many have transformed their entire life because of one small decision. Repeat it every morning, wake up on time and act with discipline. Once you understand this, you'll stop asking, how do I get more motivated? And start asking, how do I build a system so I don't need motivation at all? That question will take you to a new world where you're no longer chasing feelings, but leading yourself by design. Want to know who will go far in the next 10 years? Look at how they live each morning. Those who depend on inspiration will always be led by circumstance. Those who build discipline will always carve their own path, no matter the circumstance. And if you want to be a leader, you can't wait until you feel ready. You simply need to act consistently, quietly, systematically. Start tomorrow, set the alarm. Wake up on time, do what you said you'd do no matter how you feel. Don't romanticize it, just execute. Because in the end, discipline is the only language real success understands. Success doesn't belong to the fastest, it belongs to the ones who are awake first. In a world where most people are still asleep, those who choose to rise early don't just gain time, they gain strategic advantage. They enter the day before their minds are occupied, before their energy is drained, and while the world is still silent. This silence isn't for rest. It's a time carved out for those bold enough to lead. Waking up early is a quiet declaration. I don't live by someone else's schedule, I write my own. You don't need more than 24 hours. You just need to use them in a way that 95% of others can't. And the only way to do that is to begin your day not by reaction but by design. Early risers don't just get up earlier, they are more intentional, more grounded, and more awake in every decision. They step into the day with a clear advantage in clarity, discipline, and energy, something most people spend the entire day trying to regain. You might think others are more successful than you because they're smarter, more talented, or luckier, but the truth is they simply started earlier. While you're still getting in the mindset to begin, they've already completed their first important task. While you're dragging yourself out of bed, they've spent an hour in deep focus, renewed their energy, and laid the foundation for a productive day. It's not that they're better than you, it's that they refuse to be pulled down by the unconscious pace of the majority. Early risers don't work more, they work better. Not because they have more time, but because they know how to use the time that isn't being contested. While the rest of the world is still asleep, they're free to think without interruption, free to choose tasks based on true priority, not urgency imposed by others. They live by a different logic, a different rhythm, where every action has intent and every morning has a strategy. Waking up early doesn't make you superhuman, it simply removes everything that keeps you living below your potential. You stop being lazy because you no longer have time to be. You stop procrastinating because the important work is done before distractions can creep in. You stop feeling like you're falling behind because you're always a few steps ahead of the world's pace. And while others complain about not having enough time, motivation, or opportunity, you've already built a valuable day without waiting for any perfect conditions. The future doesn't come from grand decisions made on glorious days. It comes from small choices, repeated in simple mornings few people respect. You don't need to be better than someone to change your life. You just need to wake up earlier than they do, hold that line day after day until even you are stunned by the version of yourself you've become. You can't control most of what happens in your day, but you always control how that day begins. And the one who owns the morning is the one who holds the power to shape the entire future. They are not dragged by headlines, emails, or social expectations. They choose their direction in silence, in autonomy, in discipline. If you're still hesitating about waking up early, stop measuring time, start measuring value. 1 hour in the morning is not the same as 1 hour at night. An action taken at 5 a.m. doesn't carry the same weight as one taken at 10 a.m. Because when you wake early, you're not just ahead of time, you're ahead of your former self. And if you repeat that long enough, you don't just change your habits, you change your destiny. The future doesn't belong to the biggest dreamers, it belongs to the most awake. And being awake in this era is no longer a state, it's a choice. Choose to wake early. Choose to do the hard thing before anyone else. Choose discipline when emotion hasn't caught up. And choose to start your day like a leader, without needing a guide, without needing applause. Just one decision, repeated, I wake early. I start early, and I will go further than anyone.